if anybody asks any comments live, I'll be able to see them and then I can read them to you if there are any good ones that pop up.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, so let me see when it goes live. Okay, here we go. All right, cool. So it's officially live. So hello everyone, welcome. Today, yep, there we go. It's getting live. And those of you who are live, just let us know if you can hear and see everything okay. If there are any issues, let us know and then we'll fix them. But I'm assuming everything is working just fine. So welcome everyone to another episode of The Future of Work with Jacob Morgan. My guest today is Victor Hoskins. He's the president and CEO of Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. Victor, thanks for joining me.
It just cut off.
Oh no.
I lost.
Did you lose me, Victor?
Faded out. Can you hit him?
Anything?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
Technology difficulties, guys. Hang on one second.
Yes.
Are you
You're back on.
You're back?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
I'm going to
I'm
redo
back.
that again just because when it goes up to the podcast so I can have the intro. So hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Future of Work with Jacob Morgan. My guest today, Victor Hoskins, the president and CEO of the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you.
So
Jacob.
To get started, why don't you give us a little bit of background information about you and what you do, and also the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority and what you guys do there?
Okay. So I have been in the industry they call economic development for, probably about half of my career. And usually in that role, I'm in roles like the one I'm in right now. I'm right now CEO of Fairfax County Economic Development. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But prior to that, I was Deputy Mayor of Economic Development for the District of Columbia. And in the District of Columbia, we did projects like the Wharf and City Center, a lot of the projects that are large scale in nature, creating jobs. And that's primarily what we do in this industry, is actually help attract jobs and help create jobs for the local environment. I also did the same work as Director of Economic Development for Arlington County. And we attracted companies like Gerber, Lidl, Nestle, and the last big one that I did was the Amazon headquarters with 37,500 employees and about 2 million square feet of office space. And I joined Fairfax County about 6 months ago. And Fairfax County is an economic development authority, very similar to the ones that I've worked for before. And of course, these days, the challenge is talent. So we're focused on talent right now.
Very cool. And you recently made quite a bit of headlines because Amazon has selected your area to be the location of its second headquarters. And there was a lot of debate and discussion around that. I don't know if you're able to share any of like the behind the scenes, what it was like to get them there, because a lot of people were wondering, how did you get them there? What happened? Can you share any of that process? What it was like? Were you just in meetings nonstop? Lots of pressure? What was that experience like?
Well, it's interesting because the way that the process went is very different from the normal economic development process. What I mean by that is actually the Amazon issued an RFP really for the whole world to see. And as a result, 238 jurisdictions actually were competing for this. That isn't normally how it's done. Normally,
230. Wow.
238. Yeah. So we were one of 238. It was a serious competition. I think the most intense competition I've ever been in my career. But because it was done differently in that it went out to all these jurisdictions, and they actually, Amazon asked for the jurisdiction to actually submit the development opportunities. And usually it's the other way around. Usually it's developers submitting, and they bring often they bring us into the process. So we were actually up front in the process, actually working with the developers in Amazon. No, the meetings weren't nonstop. As a matter of fact, once we filled out the RFP, we had to wait a couple of months. And that was kind of the hurry up and wait, where we produced this 250-page proposal, working with 4 different years. Yeah, it was huge. And these pages were not normal pages. They were like, the 11 by 14 or even bigger. It was a beautiful, beautiful document. And I'm sure everyone, I'm sure a lot of people did produce documents like that. And it really was, what was so great about it, though, is it gave us an opportunity not to look at our individual jurisdictions, but really to look at the whole of the region as in this competition, because there's 6 million people in the greater DC region. There are 3 million workers. There's 60 universities, 400,000 actually enrolled in those universities, graduating 90,000 graduates a year. So that kind of statistic you can do when you're competing as a region. But if we were competing as just our jurisdiction, the numbers would not have been that way. Yeah. And the reality is economies function as regional economies, not as individual jurisdictions. That's kind of how we look at them. So, but it wasn't nonstop. They did come and do a site visit. And during the site visit, that was about 2 days of intense meetings with them, taking them around, touring them, introducing them to stakeholders. And then it was wait again. So it was another like 3 or 4 months, and they gave us a list of questions. I think it was over 100 questions, and I think our responses were, if I recall correctly, about 1,100 pages. So it was quite a bit of quite extensive response.
Wow.
And the thing is, it was a lot of detail, that things that companies really need to know. How many technical degrees you have graduated in cloud computing, in cyber? There were very, very specific questions.
Can you share some of those questions? Because I think people would find that quite interesting and fascinating, especially for businesses.
Yeah. So one of the questions that they asked was, what is the composition of your technical workforce? So first of all, what is the universe of all your engineering degrees? And then what are the specific disciplines within those engineering degrees? So you may break it down into, you may have software programmer, but that software programmer, maybe, 50% of them are focused on cloud computing, and maybe another, 25% focused on cyber, and, but basically breaking them down so that they could see, how many degrees are resident, in those technical fields in your region. And then what we also did, because we looked at this as kind of a need to produce talent, we actually worked with our universities and made this part of the incentive package, that we would, and this came from the state, matching funds to expand the number of degree candidates in various categories, not just for Amazon, but for all the engineering and technical and tech companies in our region. And I think that really created an advantage for us, that we actually were expanding the amount of people in those fields, not just working with the resident degrees.
So Amazon was specifically interested in how many technical degrees are available in the area. Are you able to share some of the other, I guess, skills or mindsets that they were looking for? Were they looking for anything around soft skills, leadership, or was it just purely they wanted to know how many technical degrees or talent they might have in technical areas?
No, but they were also interested in just our general population, business degrees, law degrees. I mean, we laid all of that out. But I focused on those because those were the ones in particular that we know created an advantage for us, because we have the second highest concentration of engineering talent in the country, second only to New York. And we're just ahead of Silicon Valley. So those things became very important in this competition. But the other ones were important too: marketing and sales, MBAs, really the industries that basically make industry work.
Yeah.
Legal, lawyers.
It's interesting that they were asking for MBAs as well, because I think there's a big debate around whether or not people need MBAs. Are those higher educational institutions going to be around in the next 10, 15 years, 20, 30 years? But Amazon was specifically interested in even higher education, MBA, probably even PhD programs you guys have over there.
Well, they were interested in all of our advanced degree programs. I mean, actually, let's just put it this way. One of the things that areas are measured on are educational attainment. If you look at BAs or better in our region, that's 64%. That's one of the highest in the country. In Arlington in particular, where I was working, where Amazon decided to 73%. So that highly.
I think we lost you. Oh no. Hang on, everyone. We'll get Victor back in a second. Victor, I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but we seem to have lost you. So hopefully we'll get you back in a minute. Sorry, guys. I wish I knew some good jokes to tell you while we were waiting for Victor to get back, but hopefully he'll get back in just a minute. I see some of the questions that are coming in through LinkedIn and through some of the other channels. So give me a second. Let me try to get Victor back here because I don't know what happened. He seems to have vanished. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for him to get back, if you guys have any questions that you want me to ask Victor, put those questions in LinkedIn. Oh no, he dropped off entirely. Give him a second. I'm sure he's going to click the link and join right back. That's what happens with technology. What are you guys going to do? So let me make a note here. It happens. I agree. I'm just making a note here so that when the podcast goes up, I'll remember to cut this portion out. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful day wherever you are. Yep. For now, I'm just saying hi to folks. Give me 1 second.
We're back.
Victor, what happened?
I don't know. It just stopped.
Lost you.
Yeah.
We lost you. All right. So you caught off there, but maybe you can jump right back into what you were saying. You were talking about some of the advanced degrees that you guys are offering.
Yeah, and the point I was making is that, not just Amazon, but actually almost every company that we talk to, one of the things that they want to know, is the general educational attainment in your region. That's a very important benchmark. And ours is at 64%. And I mentioned that Arlington, where I was working, that 64% in the region, and 73% in Arlington specifically. That's a very high educational BA or better attainment.
Yeah.
And then 38% masters and PhDs. So really, they were looking at that all general educational attainment in addition to the technical degrees. I didn't want you to think that they were only looking at technical degrees. Sure. We found this true also with Nestle. When we recruited Nestle, we recruited Nestle about a year and a half before we recruited Amazon to Arlington. And they were interested in, again, educational attainment. And as you would expect, because they're product marketers, they were really more interested in a lot of the product marketing skills that were in the market. So what happens is each company wants that general knowledge, but they of what's in your environment, but they also, do drill down specifically, especially if they're going to be developing a specific expertise.
Was Amazon at all looking at diversity as well, or was
Absolutely. And I said this, I answered that so quickly because it was one of the things that we talked about day one. I mean, when we first met with them, it was one of the things that they discussed. And actually, the team that came to visit with us was a very diverse team. There were women, men, African Americans. It was a very Asian. It was a very diverse team. I will say this: they were very, very, very affable. I'm saying affable because I just enjoyed being around them. They reminded me a lot of the people in our region, in the DC region. So I think that there was also kind of a cultural ethos that floated in the back of this, that it wasn't just diversity talk. It was actually a desire for it and an intentionality in it.
So what it seems like those two criteria were very important, sort of technical skills, just high level of education, diversity. Is there anything else that Amazon was specifically looking for as far as talent, skills, mindsets, experience that they wanted the people in the area to have?
We did not. After we got past that point, there wasn't a need to go much deeper, because after that it becomes recruiting for them. So that was really the baseline. Is the talent there? Can we access it? Will there be future talent there? Will we be able to access that? We were able to answer that question with the innovation campuses, the Virginia Tech campus, which is going to be $1 billion innovation campus, where they will help us double the number of degree candidates in technical fields, along with George Mason University, which is actually will physically be in Arlington. The Virginia Tech campus is actually physically in Alexandria, which is about a site is about 2.5 miles south of the Amazon site. The George Mason University campus is in Arlington, and it's about 3 miles north. But those campuses will provide places for research, innovation, and also production of additional talent for the future. So they saw an existing talent base and they saw a future talent base. And that was really made possible by the state of Virginia, which actually put the majority of the investment in educational infrastructure. $1 billion they put behind matching universities that are willing to do this kind of technical skill upskilling. And then we have the community colleges that have also becoming part of this. Amazon and specifically Amazon Web Services has been working very closely with our community college to create a credential program in cloud computing that allows people to, I think it's 6 months. At the end of this training, they're able to go directly into Amazon and actually become part of the team.
Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like they're using an entire region as their like a direct talent pipeline, which is really amazing. What's the impact supposed to be for the area? I think it was they're creating 25,000 jobs in the area. And then when is everything completed as far as the headquarters and all these things that you guys have going on?
Yeah, so this is about a 12-year period, a 12 to 15-year period. Let's call it 15 just to give it, that time, because that is a lot of employees. They are looking at anywhere between 25,000 and actually 37,500.
Wow.
There are actually incentives set up for them to go as high as 37,500. They may or may not reach that number, but 25,000 was the baseline.
Oh,
and
knowing Amazon, they'll reach it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But the first year they hired 400. Now we're into the second year of hiring. I believe the number is about 1,000, and then they will ramp up to about 1,500. And they have the first million square feet under construction. Actually, it just went through the permitting process. It's in the design process. It should be delivered, I think, in 2023. But by that time, they'll be adding, a couple of thousand employees a year, and that'll run for about 12 to 15 years.
Okay.
Now that's direct Amazon employees. And you asked a question about what is the overall impact.
Yes. So
we've looked at other markets and jobs like the ones that are being created at Amazon in the income category of basically average salary of 150,000 in these technical areas usually create 3 to 4 additional jobs in the rest of the economic environment. So even though they're going to be hiring 25,000, the impact is going to be somewhere between a total of 100 and 125,000 because of this multiplier effect. And if you think about it, just think about yourself. You have a tax person. If you have legal service, you have to pay for that. You have someone does your dry cleaning. If you have a dog, someone grooms your dog. I mean, you have a dentist. All these services we all consume. So all of those services will be consumed. In addition to that, of course, retail services. So that's the additive effect of this. The great thing about Amazon, though, is it also brings a greater diversification of your economy because they are in so many business lines. They're often business lines that are outside of them that support their business lines. So they may, create Alexa, but they may have a unit, or they may hire a small firm on the side to do some special design services for that device. Or they may hire, someone to do some special digital services that they don't do themselves. So there are also other companies that follow them as they enter an environment. So we're expecting for the whole region over 100,000 jobs out of this Amazon headquarters.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so, I mean, obviously you're involved with a lot of organizations. They're not just Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, just kind of big picture, when you think about workplace trends and talent, what are some of the things that you're paying attention to as somebody who's leading the economic development in the county? What are the big trends you're looking at?
So what we realize is that, producing, first of all, we have 400,000, people enrolled in our universities in this entire region, and these 60 universities throughout our region, from Hopkins all the way to Virginia Tech, just the whole range of universities. And we need to keep more of those people in this region. That's one of the things. So there's a real retention effort that we're launching, focused on the kids that are in school right now and connecting them directly to companies. Whether that company is, Lidos, or that company is Booz Allen, whether it is, Northrop Grumman or Boeing, we're trying to connect them, directly to the companies as they're going through their undergraduate education. Because what we find, and what I think all of us, have found this, when you work at a place while you're in school, you may be going back to that place or a similar company when you get out of school. So really bridging that, making that connection. And not just doing this at the undergraduate level, but we also want to look at this at the high school level, trying to get these kids into internships, just to get to understand what companies do and develop their interests early on. And then on the graduate side, we graduate about 90,000 graduates a year. Many of those, over half of those, leave the region. We want to keep those kids. So there's a big retention effort right there. And then the second thing that we're looking at, and this is a trend that's extraordinarily important, is for companies are retraining their own employees, their existing employees. It is really not, it is a huge deal. Because think about it, if you already have someone with a set of computer skills and they just may be in a legacy language and you're trying to bring them up, it's cheaper for you to bring them up than to start with a whole new person that doesn't even understand your corporate culture. So that is becoming a big focus of our companies. We see that as a trend. We also see the growing of talent. And I mentioned already Virginia Tech and George Mason University innovation campuses as examples of that, helping us grow more engineering, more technical talent. And then attracting. We believe that attraction is going to be a very important part for us in the future. A lot of people do not know how wonderful the lifestyle is in this region, and we'd like for them to know and understand that. We all in the Northern Virginia region, we've just begun to work together to 10 jurisdictions now. We're working together as an alliance, and what we discovered, all of us, is that we have great corporate recruiting websites, but we do not have talent recruiting websites. So we're developing these talent recruiting websites to get things that you're interested in, you and your family, that we want you to come here, because if you don't tell them that story, you may sell them the job, but you haven't sold them the place. And we live in places, not in jobs.
That's interesting. And it's probably something a lot of organizations can do a better job of focusing on as well when they're trying to attract people, not just telling them about the job, but the area as well and where they're going to be living. So I love that component of storytelling. Interestingly enough, so somebody asked this question, and he actually is an intern for you. And he asked this question live, and he said, are other companies in the area, are they worried about Amazon coming in and taking talent away? Which I think is a very fair question. Amazon, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of perks, a lot of benefits. So are other companies in the area freaking out a little bit about Amazon coming in and saying they want 25,000 to 37,000 jobs?
Well, first of all, I think it's a very fair question. And it is something that has been brought up, and it's particularly with our smaller companies. And we're working very closely with them to deal with this issue, because it is an issue. The ability to offer more salary, the ability to offer stock, extraordinarily, really just, the name recognition of the company itself, to get that on the person's resume as they're going through their career, is viewed very positively. So the short answer is yes. Yes, people are asking about it, but there's no panic. I don't think there's no one that's panicked about it. What we're doing is, like, as we always do, is we try to methodically, disassemble, the issue and try to reassemble it in a way that works for everybody. So, if the problem is things that we can do about, something about, like connecting them to a university. Like, if we can connect these firms, large or small, to a university, and they can get the talent early, that is a very good thing. And there's a big advantage of that. It's harder to take someone out of a company than it is for you to get them as they graduate and have had no affiliation with the company. You probably kind of understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
The second thing is making sure that we understand what their needs are, because the needs of for example, in the area of cloud computing specifically, let's talk about that. Cloud computing, and let's talk about cyber too. Those are two extraordinarily high demand needs in this region in particular. So the Virginia Tech and George Mason University, as well as others, are beginning to focus on those in terms of production. So the more we produce, the more we'll be able to satisfy this demand. But to answer your question fairly, yes, there has been some expressed fear, but there's no panic.
Okay, that's good to know. The other interesting point that you brought up is this concept of retraining and upskilling. And I'm curious if you're able to share anything that you're seeing organizations do in the area, because, I mean, you're right, this is a huge issue all over the world, honestly. I mean, a lot of companies are really saying, at least, that they're going to really be focusing on training, upskilling. Are you able to share anything of what you're seeing companies do in your area?
A little bit. I won't name the companies, but I will tell you this, that they are in particular taking their people who have backgrounds that may already be in the area of, and I mentioned earlier, in a legacy language. Like, they may actually, some people, I think there's some people around that still program in languages like COBOL and Fortran. I mean,
laughing when you say that. So
yeah, but it's just because that's what I was programming when I came up. Then that was a little while ago. But it is a legacy language that, in some small areas is still around. But taking people who have older, languages and moving them into newer, moving out of SQL Server, maybe into SAS, but making that migration, from even languages that are not that old. Because the new languages are so in demand.
Yeah, and I guess the important thing is that they're related areas, right? I mean,
Yes,
or are you seeing
exactly.
Okay, so they are.
Yeah, and this is something that I found very interesting. And one of the executives who actually sits on the board of the community college, he actually went through the cloud computing class himself and got certified. And this is what he told me. He goes, Victor, surprisingly, it was not as quantitative as I thought it would be. It was actually a lot of writing, and the programming is writing, and a lot of the sections of code now are packages that you assemble. So it was he basically said it was a lot less programming than he imagined. He thought he was going to be like a software programmer. That's not what they do in these programs. They make you able to work in their environment to fix things that are broken or gone awry.
What about the impact of technology and AI on jobs? Is that something that you're finding organizations in the area are concerned about at all, or are you concerned about this?
So there are some studies out there right now. McKinsey's got a big report out. I believe Booz Allen has a report out, and and it's speaking to the jobs that are in threat. And most of those jobs are jobs that have a repetition to them, or a moderate need for analysis. And it is not the high order thinking, but it is definitely AI. And the expectation is that, a lot of those jobs will disappear. I think the one that has probably been cited the most is underwriting and insurance. Apparently, there is a methodology that they've developed that allows, through algorithms, for them to do better underwriting for insurance, which reduces the number of employees that are in that area. So just like with the I think it's going to kind of feel like what happened with bank tellers. I mean, I don't know if you probably don't remember the ATM machine coming in. Now that you do everything on the phone, I don't even think you even go to ATM machines. I might be dating myself, but I still go. But I remember when the ATM machines came in, I said to myself, I don't want to use that. I want to talk to a person. And then, after a while, it became, hey, this is pretty convenient, especially just to get cash, or just to, and boy, when to make a deposit, a check deposit or a cash deposit. And then eventually, those ranks shrank in banks. But those people are now doing different things now. A lot of them have been retrained to do other functions in the bank. Some of them have actually changed careers. But the bottom line is that we go through this process that they call creative destruction all the time, where jobs disappear and new jobs come up. Dr. Schumpeter, back in the late 20s, early 30s, postulated this theory of creative destruction. And essentially what he was looking at was like the carriage, the carriage, horse and carriage disappearing and the cars coming in, or think about it. How many blacksmiths do you know? There used to be millions of blacksmiths in the United States.
Even people who deliver milk and ice.
Yes, there were ice delivery people, right? Milk delivery to your house. I just find that amazing. But that happens in our economy. What has consistently happened also is the creation of new jobs, but it demands new skill levels. There was something I read the other day in a report from Korn Ferry that spoke about the amount invested in our country in physical capital and the amount that is invested in educational capital. And on the physical capital side, it's about 45 trillion estimated in the United States in physical capital. But listen to this, on the educational capital side, it's like 250 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah, 250 trillion. Yeah, it's like 5 times as much. And that tells you what our country does. Our country doubles down on education, and it is something that I think we're going to become better at. I love what some of these companies are doing these days by making their industry accessible to students in school, in elementary school and high school. That is a new thing. I love the fact that there's these robotic competitions all over the place now, and that used to be strange. They're now these what do they call, the hacking competitions, where you actually these hackathons where they compete to hack into something. To me it's unimaginable how creative our country is. And look, I know, and then I will acknowledge this, that yes, there is this disruption. And it always happens. But I think that as in the past, I think we are ingenious enough with our joint knowledge to really bring this together and figure out how to do it, how to support it.
What are you seeing companies doing over there as far as attracting and retaining talent? Are they really focusing on crazy perks and benefits, slides and free food and unlimited vacation? Or what are the organizations they're doing to really get the talent to show up?
I'd like to go work there, the place you just described. But no, that's it's interesting. I think that let's just talk about a couple of things. One, a great working environment is almost table stakes. You have to have a great working environment. The millennials and the Gen Z, they really want a nice work environment, and that is clear. Also flexibility, and I think this is something that even the government has embraced now. Mobility and flexibility in work hours to avoid heavy commutes, and also to take advantage of really workers that you might not even be able to access. I'll just give you one example. When I was in Arlington, we had one of our people have to relocate to Austin, Texas. And he was so good that we actually kept him on staff. He's still on staff in Arlington after like 4 years down in Austin, Texas, because he was that good. He works remotely. He comes in every quarter. It's unbelievable. And his work is digital. He does digital design and websites and videography. So his work is digital. But the bottom line is this: he does not have to physically come. That is important to people, the flexibility. And then what I would say is, I don't know about I think the food and the snacks are nice. I think people appreciate them, but they're not the closer. Paying people well. and ample vacation time. I think those two things are something that markets adjust to on their own. They find their own, top or bottom, as it may be. And so I don't think anything's over the top, though, except every once in a while I do hear about a data analytics person that was hired at a salary that you go, I haven't even made that much a year yet.
Yeah, the data analytics, the people science, some of those. Well, that's why, Amazon is one of those organizations that actually has that money to pay somebody, $250,000, $350,000 for one person for one job in data science.
Well, you'd be surprised how many smaller companies can also do that too.
Really?
I had a number of, I had a company that only had 10 employees that were hiring people like that. So,
wow. That's nuts.
So because the yield per worker is so high. It's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the numbers on the gaming industry, but the dollar in revenue, gross revenue per employee is one of the highest in the world. I saw one estimate at 500,000 per employee. I saw another at 750, and for one company over $1 million in revenue per employee. So it depends on what they are doing and how that affects the overall company. I'm sure that the person that came up with, Alexa, I mean, it had to be a genius. I mean,
he was worth his salary or her salary.
Yes, he was worth whatever they paid him.
Yeah,
Alexa's in everybody's house. It's in the hotels now.
Yeah.
You can always unplug it, though. You can always unplug it.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have one up here. Otherwise, it would be going off. What do you think this means for organizations? So there are a lot of people who listen to this podcast. They are leaders of organizations. They're either mid or senior level leaders. What do you think all of this means for them as far as what you've seen with Amazon, what you've seen with companies in your area? Do you have any advice for what they should do or think about based on your experience?
Well, what I've found is that if the company has a solid culture, a transparent way of working, has a considerate relationship to its employees. Look, let me just tell you what I do, okay? And I told these people when I came here, I said, look, I like to have fun at work. I hope you like to have fun, because that's the only reason I come to work. I come here to have a great time, and I want you to have a great time too. And by the way, if you're not having a great time, tell me what I can do to help you get there. Do you need coaching? Listen, I'm saying this. I know that these companies are saying this to their people. One thing that I do that, a lot of people who are in the public sector can't do, but I do this on my own, and my wife and I have agreed to this. I actually buy meals for my team. Like, I have about 40 people on my team, and I will buy lunch for everybody for our staff meeting. Out of my own pocket. Yeah. And you know what? They realize that's a lot of money. And they realize that I'm making a sacrifice. That is the kind of thing that you do. When I was in Arlington, I paid for coffee, sodas, any caffeinated drink anybody wanted to buy. We would order them at the beginning of the month. When it ran out, we reorder. I did that for almost 5 years. And the county couldn't do it, but I could do that. And employees appreciate that. See, what I'm talking about is like you really investing in them in an authentic way. People knew that I wasn't showing off. I could have just spent the money on myself. They knew that I thought about them and what they wanted and needed. When I heard they couldn't drink the coffee in the office, I was like, oh, that's absurd. Look, I'll pay for it. And the county's fine with me paying. So, I mean, that's anywhere. But the bottom line is that I think that leaders need to look at their employees and as much as possible, be supportive. I'm one of those people. I like a fun environment. We celebrate every quarter. We celebrate everyone's birthday that was born during that quarter. So we have a quarterly birthday cake with everybody's name listed. It's just fun. Everybody likes cake. I haven't met anybody that threw the cake out. So, and no, we just don't tell people's age. We really focus on like the fun of it. But, bringing celebration and joy in your work. And we have some long nights sometimes and some long days, and they see me put that time in, and they know that I'm working as hard as them, and they know that I will do anything. And I think that when you lead by example, that's the most powerful thing you can do to retain your employees. You treat them like you want to be treated. You lift them up like you want to be lifted up. You are fair to them like they're fair to you. I tell my people, look, I don't need you to do 16 hours a day. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to do 6. I want you to do 8. Give me 8 good ones. That's what I pay you for. That's all I need. And you know what? These people here, they deliver 8 good ones. And the thing is, that doesn't mean I'm never going to lose anybody. And just like any other company, that doesn't mean they won't lose a person. But I'm telling you, they would lose a lot less if they focused on what's good for the employees, which is also what's good for the team, not so much for the individual. It's really for the team.
Yeah, it's funny. I love that you get lunches for your team, because it's although it's a greater financial cost, it's a relatively low effort thing that and even, a lot of leaders don't even have teams of 40. They maybe lead teams of 10 or 20. And so although it is a small, well, in your case, a little bit of a larger financial cost, the effort and the impact that it has are huge, right? It's not a lot of effort to order and get lunch for people, but the impact that it has for employees, knowing that you're looking out for them, that you care about them, that you're personally sacrificing some of your own income for them, probably speaks volumes to them. And I'm sure they really, really appreciate that. Do you do the same thing with your time? So if employees need help, if they want coaching and mentoring from you, how do you approach that?
Yeah, so thank goodness I just hired an EVP who is taking up part of the slack on the coaching side. So when I first got here, I've been here 6 months now. So my first really 5 months here, my time was really, eaten up a lot with not just the work, but also with coaching. And now I'm dividing that between myself and my EVP. And eventually we will also be sliding some of that to our VPs. But ultimately, what we also want to do is get them formal coaching, because some people need more coaching than others. Some of them just need a little, checkup, direction, decision, a book to read. And by the way, we read a book a quarter. I recommend the books. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that looks like a good book there.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
I love it. But that's what they need to do. You need that. I told my staff this morning, we actually were going over one of our books. It was Blue Ocean Strategy. And I told them that the brain needs 3 things. Okay. It absolutely needs 3 things. 1, it needs a vision or a goal. You need to be shooting for something. 2, you need instructions to get there. And 3, you need inspiration. So my job, I give you vision. Okay. These books give you instruction, and I give you inspiration. That's what I'm here for. And so that's what I try to do every day. But I divide my time right now with my senior staff, because they are the most impactful, because they affect my junior staff. And there are probably 5 people in the organization that I work with a lot. And then after that, it gets a little bit less, a little bit more diluted. But that's just a matter of just having enough time. And I think that within the next year, as we kind of divide the organization up and these responsibilities up, and then move some of this to formal coaching, I think that we will, I will have a lot more time to spend with folks.
How do you inspire your team? Are there any techniques or practices that you implement that maybe leaders listening to this podcast can try out with their teams?
Well, one of the things that I do is I actually try to understand what motivates that individual. For example, there's a guy on my team who just loves advancing, developing technology. And we have this esports initiative that we've been working on. And I saw that he really liked this a lot. I let him lead it. He's been leading, and he's fantastic. He's working with my communications director. He's working with me and other people, working with these esports companies. He's just been on a tear. I think what you have to do is you have to see the people, understand them, and feed what makes them go. Because the same thing doesn't make everyone go. And so searching for that and really listening to them, and you can hear it. You can hear it in the tone of their voice when they talk about something. I have one person on my team. She is so jazzed about diversity. She is just really, really into making it happen for everybody. She wants everyone to have a shot. And what I've been doing with her is saying, okay, why don't we work with these technology companies to give everybody a shot? Small and diverse businesses. So during the month of May, we're going to do a region-wide series of events, working with our tech companies, using their platforms to help small and diverse businesses grow. So what I do is I try to find that thing that they like, and I use that as inspiration. And one of the things that I do a lot is I watch what I say to people. I am not big on criticism. I will give you a critique, but I'm not big on criticism. I will not criticize you.
What's the difference between a critique and a criticism?
Okay, so here's a criticism. You did a lousy presentation. That's a criticism. Okay, so here's a critique. You know, the introduction of your presentation was crystal clear, and the first section of your 3 points were spot on. But the second and third, I got lost and I didn't quite understand the conclusion. Why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about that second and third piece, and then how that can build to get a final tight close so that when your presentation's done, people are ready to take action on the thing that you wanted them to take action on.
Yeah, that's a very big difference.
Yeah.
So what about people? So, I mean, the critique obviously takes more time and more effort. The criticism is very easy to do. You can do it in 3 seconds.
Yes.
So what about the people who are saying, you know what? I'm busy. I'm a busy leader. I don't have a lot of time to sit there and critique my employees and give them all this feedback and coaching and hand holding. Like, I just want them to get stuff done.
Yeah, well, it depends on how they manage their team. So this is one of the things that I did with my team. So I told each of my directors I wanted them to give me an 18-month strategy. This is like 7 or 8 people. Okay, I said I want an 18-month strategy, and
like
in that strategy
or a
no, achieving your objective strategy.
Okay,
if you're supposed to get me square feet, how are you going to get me my square footage? You're going to get me jobs. How are you going to get me my jobs?
Got it.
No, I'm an outcome guy. So
Got it.
it was really all about production. And so what I did was I gave them an idea of how I thought their presentation should look. One of the guys did a nice presentation. We sent it around, and they all tried to put it in that format. So we did a first session, and as you might expect, it was a little bumpy. I gave an overall, critique, not a criticism, overall critique to the group. And that says, so we're going to get back together next week with these revised. So they came back the next week, and guess what? They were all better. Oh my God, they were better. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to need part of this material for my commission, my board retreat. So what I want you guys to do is to make sure that we have this finished by our retreat. So they got one more turn, one more bite at the apple. They all improved again. And I will tell you something, by the time we did our retreat, they were phenomenal. They were great. They were fantastic. And then I took 2 of those presentations, actually 3 of them. One was mine, and then 2 from my team, one from my communications director, one from my director of talent initiatives, and they did a presentation to my overall board. Well, it depends on what you're doing. Now, I have the next 18 months plan in every one of my divisions. That was worth my time. I probably spent a total of maybe 6 hours, if I think of the sessions themselves and the feedback that I gave them on the whole thing. Is that too much time? No, I think it's just not enough thinking about what you're trying to achieve. Now, for me, that was time well spent, because some of these programs are so good, they're really on automatic pilot for the next 18 months.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So somebody's asking, can you talk a little bit about building resilience as a leader? How do you overcome any roadblocks or setbacks or challenges that you're faced with?
Okay, I missed part of your question. You're going to have to ask your question again.
Oh, so somebody asked, how do you deal with resilience? So overcoming challenges, obstacles, failures, and roadblocks.
Okay, so how do I overcome obstacles?
Yes, obstacles, failures, challenges. How do you stay resilient?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so if I heard you right, I think you said, how do you overcome obstacles, challenges, things that disrupt your achieving an objective? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the thing is, what I try to do is I try to help my team realize that really the obstacle is not really an obstacle. It's actually what the work is. I mean, is because there's an obstacle. I mean, if there weren't problems to solve, there would be no need for you. I mean, it's just, I mean, look, if I wasn't solving a problem, why would I be here? So I don't view problems and challenges as things that are in the way.
Oh my goodness, we lost him again. Give him a second, guys. He'll be right back. Let me make a note here of where he dropped off. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions that you want me to keep asking Victor, throw them into the chat, preferably on LinkedIn Live. There he is. He's back. Welcome back, Victor. We were just talking about you. You are back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we were talking about this technology. Sometimes it's very interesting. Challenges and opportunities.
Challenges and as a leader, how do you stay resilient?
Yeah. The way that I deal with challenges and things and obstacles that get in the way is I don't view them that way. I view them as an opportunity for me to move forward. And I know that sounds a little bit like, a little quixotic, a little like a puzzle. But here's the reality. When you solve a problem, what that does is that repositions you. And I view a problem as an opportunity to reposition myself or reposition my organization. And because I talk about problems as opportunities more than I do about as being a problem or a challenge, my staff has picked that up. And they view them as opportunities. They're looking at them the way that I look at them. You see, what happens is leaders transmit, and our words are somewhat the kind of personification of the culture in your organization. So I view our job to solve these problems, and because our job is to solve these problems, I don't view that as a problem. I view that as the opportunity to do the great work we can do. And I always tell them this. I said, listen. What this situation is the opportunity to do your greatest work. So let's think through this together and let's figure out how to make this the greatest solution possible at this time. And what I find is that because I speak of I don't speak of them as problems, I really speak of them in the affirmative as opportunities. And I think part of the reason that we're able to solve so many problems is that we do view them.
What are we going to do, guys? What are we going to do with Victor? Thankfully, we're almost near the end of the podcast. I got to make a note here. We dropped him off again. I'm sorry about that, everyone. This is the first time that's actually ever happened. I don't know if it's a StreamYard issue or an internet issue.
Jacob, I'm back again.
You are back again. Man, every time you come back, it's like crystal clear. Wow. And then it drops off.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You did answer the question. I think that's good advice for people. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, so maybe we can talk about what some of this means for individuals who are not in leadership roles. So just people who have entry or mid-level jobs, people who are just employees. The average employee that's out there. Do you have any advice or guidance for some things that they should be doing or focusing on?
So what I tell my people that some of my folks ask me, Victor, how have you been able to move up in organizations? How did you go from this position to that position? And I tell them the same thing that I would tell any student that's in school. That assignment in front of you right now, just do it as best you can. Just do an excellent job, not an average job. Do an excellent job. When you get an assignment, what I find. I can give two people the same assignment, and what comes back can be a totally different outcome just based on how that person approaches the assignment. One person may get it and say, okay, I'll get this done, and they check the box. Another person gets the assignment and they just do an extraordinary job. And I will use an example of so it's not so abstract. Let me give you a very specific example. Individual, I asked them to do some research on a particular segment of our economy, and they came back with a report, and the report was very general. I asked a person in that same division to do a similar report. It came back with nothing but incredible observations, taking the data and turning the data into knowledge, not just handing me, an obvious conclusion, this segment's growing faster than that segment. Well, what is that? Why? Did some research, looked into the industry, looked at the multipliers in the industry and said, oh, this is the why. We have this resident in our region and it is playing off of that segment of our economy. To me, those were the same individuals, but one I'm thinking about promoting, and the other, I frankly think that there'll be a researcher for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so we every day we're at a job interview. Every day is a job interview. This is what I tell them. I feel like I'm at a job interview every day. Every day I'm at a job interview, which means that I have a chance to make a good impression or a bad impression. Me, I choose every day to make an extraordinary impression. I throw my body and my mind into everything that I do. Listen, I was at that brown bag talking about that book as if it was the last thing on earth to discuss before I go 6 feet under. I mean, to me, that was a moment to explain something to them that I've been wanting to talk to them about since I got there. And this moment right here, this is the greatest moment in my life right now. You know why? Because you only have these moments. So do them in an extraordinary way. Do not be average.
I love that approach of every day's a job interview. I think that's a very good way of thinking about it. What about people who have, or who might be listening to this and saying, I have a difficult leader. I don't get along with my leader. He's rude. He's condescending. He's kind of a jerk, or she's kind of a jerk. I don't want to do great work for them.
I'm only laughing because I've had that boss.
Yeah. So what do you do? You still show up?
Yeah. I have had bosses that come in swearing, yelling and screaming at me and other staff members when I was a junior staff person. And everybody goes through that. The key was, how did I respond? What I did, but you know how I responded? With extraordinary work, even when it wasn't appreciated. I did this one project once and it took me, 6 months to complete it. And listen, I knew it was extraordinary when I finished it. And he basically took it and said, this is just going to make us do more work.
Wow.
I was like, well, there's an interesting answer. Well, about 6 months later, I got promoted. And then eventually I got promoted over him. You see, what he was looking at was the work as a problem. I was looking at it as an opportunity. Even though people are difficult, you have to look past them, because that person is not always going to be your boss. You're going to run into a guy who is going to make, or a gal who is going to make your life incredible. This is one thing that I tell people when they work for me. I say, you will never work for anyone else that will be more fair and more kind than I am. I will help you get where you want to go. That's what I am here for. I absolutely believe that. And that's what I will give you. And by the way, you will never have this experience again until you work for me. And you need to know this. I have had 5, 6, 7, 8 people work for me multiple times, because when I go someplace else, they go, hey, Victor's over there. I'd like to work for him again. And what does that do? That gives me some extraordinary people to work with. I mean, it really does. So it pays for you to overlook because all leaders aren't made the same. But you are going to find great leaders in your presence. And when they're in your presence, at least that bad leader lets you know what a good leader is.
So, I love that advice. I guess even as an individual, you need to have resilience, that if you're working for a leader who doesn't appreciate you, who doesn't maybe value you or respect you the way that you want to be valued, you still need to show up every day and do an amazing job, because I guess the mentality is that situation is temporary. That leader is temporary. And like in your situation, you got promoted above that person.
Man, he was upset. Woo! Yes, I did. And by the way, I never expected that.
So he was upset.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was upset, but it was too late because he set the die, trying to avoid doing work in the way that it should have been done. And what I did was I just did the way that I thought it was right to do. And even though it was for him, he took credit for it, but that was okay. I was good with that. He's my boss.
So other people noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Other people noticed, and they went, next time an opportunity comes up, I think I'm going to tap that guy. And they did. And I do that. I do the same thing. I look for people who want to give their all.
Yeah. I love that approach. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, it's easy for a lot of people out there. I'm sure you've seen the research on the high levels of disengagement. It's easy to give up or to lose hope or to get frustrated. But I think the key is, like you mentioned, you just have to keep going and keep doing an amazing job, regardless of the situations or circumstances, because other people will pay attention.
Yeah. It's a form of professional integrity is the way that I look at it.
Yeah. Well said. Well, we're pretty much out of time. I don't know if there's any last parting words of wisdom that you would like to share with anybody before we wrap up. But if so, please feel free to do so.
Okay. So just the last thing that I'd like to say is that I think we all really benefit of having an attitude of gratitude. And it's one of the things that I even talked about to my team this afternoon about it, being grateful for what we have. In this country, we have an enormous amount. I mean, where I started in my life in public housing, to go to Ivy League schools, to do the things that I've done professionally, both on Wall Street and on Main Street. There's no other country in the world that I would have been able to do that. This is an incredible country, and we should be grateful to live in it. Our food chain is probably one of the best. Our water's clean. You know, I mean, we don't realize how good we have it. And I think having that attitude of gratitude is the most powerful thing you can take to work every day. And I know I have that attitude, and I try to display it to my employees. And I think it's the thing that's the most wonderful thing about our country is that we can have that attitude, and it truly is it's justified. It's a great country.
I love it. I love it. Victor, where can people go to learn more about you or any of the work that you guys are doing with the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority? Anything that you want to mention for people to check out, please feel free to do so.
So you can go to fceda.com. I'm sorry, fairfaxcountyeda.org. fairfaxcountyeda.org. Of course, I'm looking at my communications guy.
Yeah, we gotta keep you in check.
And you can find out all information about us. Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Keep me in check, right? Yep.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me, Victor. I really appreciate it. I mean, your energy is contagious. Your enthusiasm, I love it, and I think you give some really great advice, not just around what organizations are doing, but just your personal leadership style and approach. I love it. So I hope a lot of people learn from it. Thank you very much,
Jacob. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to get your book.
Hey, there you go. It's going to be available in a week. Another shameless plug.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in. My guest again, Victor Hoskins. He's the president and CEO of the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. And I will see all of you next time. Have a wonderful day.